like I said in my last review of Hunter x Hunter, I have never had to ever write anything down to get the grasp of everything that is going on in a chapter. I am not fucking joking you. There is so much that was revealed and happened in chapter 341. It is mind-blowing. I actually took about 35 minutes to read it and understand everything, and I had to reread it again. Holy shit. This is not a series you could just walk into and think you can understand it. This is just jumped into a freaking mindfuck type level of writing. Like, oh my god. And I heard that the writing gets really bad, like not bad, but I mean so much dialogue and info dump on chapter 343, as I saw Chibi's commenting on. If this is nothing, chapter 341, oh my god. It's not bad. It's not bad, I'm not saying that, but holy shit, the amount of dialogue. Oh. God. Okay, this chapter, I just want to say, I want to just start off from the beginning. The first point of topic I want to talk about is their voyage. They're trying to make a good voyage to the Dark Continent. You see this entire company that's just talking with each other and saying, okay, we need to make sure everything is set, everything is fine, we need to check all the ecosystems, we need to check all the nature, weather patterns of each individual country to make sure our journey to the Dark Continent is safe and has less failures or casualties. That's exactly what they're trying to do at the beginning of this chapter, and it slowly leads into the discussion of the Dark Continent's Gatekeeper. Now, that right there, I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, so there's a Dark Continent Gatekeeper in this series. It reminded me a lot of, you know, the Zoldyck family's gate. That's exactly when I saw the gate in this chapter. When I saw the gate to the Dark Continent, it reminded me of the Zoldyck family's gate, Passage of Strength or whatever. So, seeing that, I was like, okay, so that's exactly what it's probably going to be like, but probably a lot more fucking brutal since it's the Dark Continent. After this fucking chapter and after last chapter, oh my god. Okay, so the Dark Continent is looking fucking terrifying after this chapter. I'll get into it in just a second. So there's something very interesting that was brought up in this chapter. From what I see, is that if negotiations break down with Kakin, the organization that Beyond Netro is currently hosting, he's trying to go on a voyage to the New World, he's trying to explore it. If negotiations break down with them, this group of people that are talking at the beginning of this chapter, state that they will have to open up Pandora's box. Now, I don't necessarily know what Pandora's box is, but definitely anything that has to do with Pandora's box is going to be fucking brutal. And I'm willing to bet it has something to do with that lone survivor in the facility. Speaking of that lone survivor, with this chapter, it shows us the 5 great calamities, which I will get into later on in this video. But there is one calamity that was introduced earlier on in this chapter that really threw me for a fucking loop. The zombie disease, or the immortal disease, or whatever name you want to call this calamity. This disease or calamity of one of the five calamities, yeah, it gets in people, it's a virus, and it makes you immortal. It changes you. For instance, we saw a subject, one of the lone survivors of the first voyage into the Dark Continent. He was a lone survivor, came back, and it was 50 years ago, and he's no longer aging. Like, for instance, he can't die. Like, he cannot die at all, but he doesn't need to have anything to eat. Like, he doesn't need any sustenance at all. He can live, and that's it. It looks like he's brain dead or something from what I could see, and it's a virus that gets inside of these people. I don't know exactly if this virus can get in even animals, but from what we saw, humans are greatly affected by this virus, and they just become fucking zombies, pretty much from what I can see. So, oh yes, one thing though, this dude that's pretty much a zombie now, he's 50 fucking years old. He's 50 years old, and he hasn't eaten like 50 fucking years. So it just shows you how old he is, and what this disease or virus can really do. Now, besides that factor, there's something very interesting in this that was brought up. For instance, the New World Traveler's Log. That right there, I was like, okay, so this Traveler's Log, supposedly from what I could get from it, was a record of travels published hundreds of years ago. Hundreds of years ago, I'm guessing from the first voyage to the Dark Continent. It was I'm guessing one of the lone survivors or someone wrote it, and they found this journal, and it was published by a madman, as they stated at the beginning of this chapter. So this madman, I wonder exactly how did he survive? Like, did he see the horrors in the Dark Continent, or was this madman someone that was told about this? Or, I mean, there's a lot of questions I have about that, but this new Traveler's Logbook, or the New World Traveler's Logbook, pretty much was made 100 years ago, published 100 years ago, and then eventually it was proven to actually be true. It wasn't a madman's rambling. So, very shocking. At first, you don't really get much from it because the chapter's building up, but there's just so much going on in this chapter. After that, we see inside the facility, the exact same facility that had this dude that was zombified, pretty much. We see these humans that were twisted up like fucking ropes. Like, oh man, it's like grabbing a human, okay, and just twisting them. Just twisting like a fucking rope, which we can't do. But I mean, imagine like someone turning into a fucking rope. That's how tight they get fucking twisted. Or like a rag, twisting a rag. That's exactly what a lot of these humans looked like when you saw them in these different test tubes in this chapter. And supposedly from what we found out was that these humans were not actually going to the New World or the Dark Continent, whichever title you want to give to this new continent. Pretty much, these humans never went into the Dark Continent from what I understood. They just fell victim to one of the calamities inside the Dark Continent. Now, the calamity that was brought up in last chapter, if I remember, there would be a calamity. Like, the humankind would face calamity if, you know, they went into the Dark Continent. That's why they sealed it off and they don't let no one go in there. I think the calamities they were talking about was the 5 great calamities. Like, for instance, the zombie disease, which I'll get into in a moment, like I said. But, pretty much, the rope thing. We find out that most likely there was a calamity a long time ago that came out into the real world, like our world we know of in the Hunter world, and killed people, pretty much, from what we can see. The big thing is, though, right here, is that what happened to the people that went onto the voyage. Like, they don't know what happened to the people that went onto the voyage, but these are just people that didn't go on it, so, yeah. Another thing I do want to talk about, I saw an interesting similarity between the victims that were twisted up like a fucking rope. I mentioned it a long time ago in my review of Hunter x Hunter, the anime series, when Alika was first introduced. I mentioned it. I remember specifically I had a bunch of theories about Alika's abilities to where she would kill people. For instance, if you don't do her request in 3 tries, she will kill you, pretty much. Well, the way the corpses looked, it looked a lot like what would happen to the corpses when Alika killed that one maidservant. So you remember when the girl's face flattened down in the anime and she got crushed and she disappeared and you saw blood everywhere? That entire aspect of that reminds me a lot of what Alika did to that girl, the maidservant. Maybe she transports people to the Dark Continents. Could that be possible? I don't know, but I mean, it reminds me a lot, or maybe it's some type of ability that's like that. Because, I mean, I remember earlier on in the Hunter x Hunter anime, they stated that Alika was from somewhere else. And judging by how this Dark Continent gets introduced right now, it makes me believe that whatever this Nanika is inside of Alika is from the Dark Continent. That's exactly what I want to say right now. And that her power is probably linked to some type of ability or great calamity inside of there. So, major reveals and questions are brought up with this chapter with that. And he goes even further past this chapter. Now, the virus, supposedly from what we found out, this, like, you know, the immortal disease virus, that's one of the great 5 calamities, we find out that this virus can stop anyone from dying, like, you're immune to death. That's from what they found out. So I'm guessing they must have experimented on this dude that was in the testing chamber, that was in there for 50 years or whatever, and most likely experimented with all sorts of things to try to kill this person, but they couldn't kill him. So right now, we have beings that are immune to death, which is very fucking creepy. It's very creepy knowing stuff like that. And so, to see this aspect of how there is probably creatures out there in the New World or Dark Continent that is immune to death and probably zombified, is pretty fucking terrifying. It definitely is, especially if you're immune to death. Okay, supposedly from what was in the disc that Netero left last chapter, what was mentioned, the disc that was talking about Beyond, we find out that Beyond once a long time ago tried to go into the Dark Continent, an unexplored path. And when he went into this unexplored path, pretty much a calamity happened. And a lot of people pretty much died. And he wanted to go back in eventually. He wanted to go back in, but his father, Netero, did not let him go back in there. And Netero specifically stated to Beyond, you will not be allowed to go back into the Dark Continent until I die. That's exactly what Netero says, and I'm like, oh shit, so Netero is really fucking serious about this. He was really serious about not letting people go into it, and the big factor is that Beyond was the main person that shouldered all the responsibility and the explorations of this voyage to the Dark Continent a long time ago, when he already went inside of it. So it's mind-blowing, and what even goes farther than that, is that we find out that Netero, not, Beyond Netero, but Netero, he went into the Dark Continent twice. He only went into it twice, and he said he obtained some form of strength. He got the strength he desired, but he did not get that strength he wanted. For instance, the strength he wanted in the Dark Continent was a match, a fight, a battle of survival, a battle that is between an opponent that you can defeat. And what he found there was a different kind of strength, a strength that had cruel, harsh nature. Very serious, cruel, harsh nature that would kill anyone there, and there was no way to win or defeat this opponent. That's what Netero discovered in the Dark Continent. So, even though he obtained some form of strength, which explains why he's so fucking OP, even though he attained some of the strength, he didn't get what he wanted. He wasn't completely fulfilled, as we can see. And what we find out is that the strength that Beyond Netero has is his determination to explore the continent. That is one thing, but he also reveals saying that he doesn't want Beyond to be the one that leads the exploration. He doesn't want Beyond to lead it. He wants someone else from the organization to lead it. He wants someone else. Which, it shows you how much faith that Netero has in his Zodiacs or someone, since he's telling to the Zodiacs, and it might also explain more demeanor about Beyond. Probably because he went into the Dark Continent, and he wanted to go back into there with an unexplored path to cause another calamity, and Netero stopped him. That's probably why he doesn't want Beyond to lead the charge. Oh yes, and Netero also states to his Zodiacs that since he wants them to do this mission, he says it's not an order, it's a request, but then eventually it leads into an order. This request, or order, whichever way Netero was citing this on, he said that this mission is an absolute A rank. Undisputed. It's an instant A rank, probably the top ranks of the ranks we've seen, and so this mission is highly fucking dangerous for Netero to say that. And this mission is, he wants, you know, his Zodiacs to lead the charge instead of Beyond. So he might be making this A-rank mission towards Beyond, since Beyond most likely is very fucking strong. But either way, that is how strong this mission is, like how strong the Dark Continent is in the stakes of this mission. Oh yes, and also, we find out that Jin most likely is going to be going to the Dark Continent in this chapter. We see a glimpse of him, and since we saw him at the end of the final episode of Hunter x Hunter 2011, we saw that he was talking about the Dark Continent, and he wanted to go there. He was very invested in going into the Dark Continent, so definitely Jin is going to be jumping on into this and trying to go to the Dark Continent with Beyond Netero, and since one of the Zodiacs stated that they will only go if Jin will go to the Dark Continent, then they'll most likely have to go anyway. So we're going to have all the Zodiacs, we're going to have the team underneath Beyond Netero, and Priest and everybody going to the Dark Continent, which is very fucking shocking because there's just a massive amount of strong people going to the Dark Continent. Now, a couple more things I do want to discuss is about Beyond. Beyond, shows up at the end of this chapter to the group, the Zodiacs' conversation when they were watching the disc about Netero. Beyond shows up and says that, hey, want to work together and all that. I want you to tell the organization that you have captured Beyond Netero, and let's have a give or take type of relationship. So pretty much, they're going to have it to where the Zodiacs and Beyond are going to be going into the Dark Continent together. Instead of one side trying to fight their way into it and having two different fights to go into it, they're going to try to have a give or take to where they can both go inside of the Dark Continent, from what I can understand from the ending part of this chapter. And now let's talk about the big thing at the end of this, okay? The big fucking massive plot reveal that made me scratch my head and I'm like, oh my god, was the 5 Great Calamities. Now, I want to name them off right here because I can't possibly remember the names from one fucking chapter. The 5 Great Calamities: the Weapon Brawn, Gas Lifeforms AI, very fucking weird, Two-Tailed Snake Hellbell, Human Feeding Beast Papu, and the Immortal Sickness, which is the virus I covered earlier on the video. So, I want to take an example right here. Okay, the Human Feeding Beast Papu, if I remember correctly, it was the shriveled up looking man dolls. It was about pleasure or whatever, as I saw. So, the calamities, I'm guessing, stand for each individual different thing that can happen to humankind, as the immortal virus makes you immune to death and causes the zombie disease. And so, I'm guessing that all these different other calamities, even though they look like beasts and stuff, they might be specifically like something very major that can affect all of humanity, like the Papu or whatever, the freaking, what is it, Human Feeding Beast. It traps humans and it feeds on them, probably gives them immense pleasure, and it probably just traps them into an infinite dream or something of torture. I don't know. I mean, I remember something like that in Yu Yu Hakusho. The tree that was feeding on Togoro's brother, you remember that? The tree that was feeding on him and constantly giving him, like, nightmares or whatever, and he would be like that for all of eternity. That's exactly what that Human Feeding Beast reminds me of. And then the entire bit with the Two-Tailed Snake Hellbell, That beast is like the beast of contagion or whatever, so most likely it could spread plague and disease and stuff. I want to probably say that right now. And then there's the other two, one that protects like the gate or the entrance of the pyramid or whatever, and then one the gas life forms AI, just have compassion, whatever, as I understood. So like just a lot of shit. I gotta think over it, and I'm gonna have to reread this chapter about 3 more times to really get the big picture. But it just so much fucking information in one chapter. Like, it is fucking ridiculous. It really is. Togashi, man, what the hell? What the hell? Like, my god, dude. Seriously. You must either think we're very intelligent, okay? You must think we're very intelligent to keep up with all this, or you either... No. Let's back up real quick. There's 3 aspects to this, of why this chapter is like it is. Either Togashi thinks we're really, really, really fucking intelligent, and we can read it in one go, or he loves trolling us, and he wants to make us write down everything. Pretty much he's giving the giant middle finger, and he's making us write down fucking shit ton of notes all over the freaking pages. Or 3, he just doesn't care, he's just talking. I don't know, okay? I don't know, but damn! When I have to stop and think, like, this much about a fucking chapter, oh. It's a good chapter. Very fucking good chapter. 9 out of 10 or even higher than that. It was a damn good chapter, just so much info dump. I mean, there was just so much info dump that you really have to concentrate. It's fucking great. It's amazing. I'm not putting it down for that. Just, holy shit. The info dump is insane. No person could possibly read this in one go and even make a review about it. I don't see how anyone could go in and make a review in one reading of this. You'll miss so many fucking details. Seriously, if this was coming out weekly, I probably couldn't even get this out early or not. I would probably have to sit down and read it for like 2 fucking hours and then try to make a review. That is just how much information is in these chapters, dude. I'm willing to bet if I was to reread this chapter another 2 to 3 times, I could come back and discuss for another freaking 20 to 30 minutes. There's just that much information. Overall, great chapter. Loved it. I love the info dump. Even though it gave me a headache, I have a fucking headache, not gonna deny it. I want to try to review Berserk tonight. It was a good chapter. So, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or not, and I will try to get another one of these reviews out as soon as I can, but with how the anime season has been, I've been incredibly busy, so if I do have a review up for Hunter x Hunter or even Berserk, it will be on a Wednesday, Tuesday, or Monday. That's the dates that you will have these type of reviews on from now on, depending on how Thursday and Friday goes. It just all depends, but weekends are an absolute no. Weekends will never have these reviews because I'm way too fucking busy. But anyways, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.